John, I do want to talk about what you mentioned in that last segment about the case against Jack Phillips. So mercifully, this week there was some tremendous news in his case, which, gosh, case is at this point. But this latest case that was brought by this activist lawyer who, as soon as the case about the wedding cake was finished, this lawyer called Jack's Masterpiece Cake Shop in Colorado and requested a cake specifically to celebrate a so-called gender transition. And it was going to be a blue and a pink. I don't even know what the whole thing was. It was obviously a ploy. And Jack said no. And so this lawyer sued. And this week, the Colorado Supreme Court threw out the case essentially on procedural grounds. So this case is over. There's nobody to appeal to. The Colorado Supreme Court is the highest in the land. And this was a dispute over Colorado law. So from what I understand from the Alliance Defending Freedom, who have been defending Jack now for 12 years, this is the end of at least this case. And I heard an interview with Jack this week on The World and Everything in It, and he was just sitting in his office in the back of the cake shop while customers are coming in and ordering cakes, and he's still doing his thing. But this is really, really good news.
It's great news. It isn't a settling of the issue. That's what needs to be clear. The court chose not to address the complaint or the merits or the issues of speech or religion or anything like that. This is a technicality in a sense. It's procedural, as you said. So maybe that's a better way to say it than technicality. And it does end this case, but it does not settle the matter. There will be another challenge to another person, maybe to Jack, God forbid. And I say that because there's a couple things that people need to remember. Number one is this was a 12-year ordeal, 12 years. That ordeal included false accusations. It included people leaving Google reviews, compromising his business, accusing him of having cockroaches in his cakes and all of those other things. If you ever go there, it's just hateful and malicious and everything else. In full disclosure, I left a disclosure on Google review for the Scardina law firm, which is where Autumn Scardina, Jack's accuser, comes from. But I
John,
didn't.
you and I are the same person. I would have done the exact same thing.
I didn't accuse him of something. But here's the difference: I didn't accuse him of doing something he didn't do. I just said, I've never done business with this law firm, but you need to know this is what this law firm is allowing, and this is what this particular lawyer is doing. And what he did was target Jack for years. He did not randomly. I mean, this narrative continually needs to be corrected that Jack turns away customers that he doesn't like. Listen, he served the initial customers in the first Masterpiece Cake Shop case, a gay couple who had been quote unquote married in another state and was asking for a cake to celebrate their wedding. And he offered to serve them, but just not custom design a cake to offer a message that he doesn't believe in. And when Autumn Scardina, and this isn't unusual for the T part of the acronym, to hijack other movements. It's a remarkable thing to watch the transgender movement. There is a good bit of just kind of complete self-absorption here, where Autumn wanted to make this about him. And so immediately called Jack, not randomly, didn't just walk in the store, and asked for a cake. And, initially there was agreement, a pink cake and a blue icing or vice versa, whichever way it was. And, until Autumn articulately said, this is what this is for.
Yeah.
And now it becomes a message. It becomes support of something that Jack doesn't agree with. Like Halloween. He doesn't make Halloween cakes either, by the way. Or cakes celebrating divorces, or raunchy cakes for, bachelorette parties or bachelor party. He doesn't do any of this.
Mm-hmm.
And that began an ordeal in which Autumn Scardina has asked for hundreds of cakes, or dozens of cakes, maybe is more accurate. Some, Satan smoking a joint. I mean, just all kinds of looking for something that would stick in the accusation. And then turns around in the lawsuit. And I was there at the courthouse this past year where this attorney claimed to be harmed and to have his feelings hurt. Sorry, I want to be really clear with the pronouns here, because this is a trans-identifying individual that just went after Jack relentlessly. This 12-year journey for Jack included death threats to him and his family, to the store, loss of business. And I'm just going to tell you, if you've never been to Masterpiece Cake Shop, as you said, he's still there doing his thing. It's really good stuff. Really, really good stuff. So go there if you swing by Denver and order something. I'm really glad it's over. But, here's the headline of the story. It really is. And I've come to believe, as important as these developments are, as glad as I am that this ordeal is at least over for a while, hopefully forever for him. He's paid his dues. He's done his time, kind of thing. The headline is two things. Number one is the procedure, the process is the punishment, as ADF has said over and over and over. That's true for Jack. So he gets the outcome, but this has been 12 years of being mistreated, maligned. And by the way, first the state went after him, and then the state allowed a private citizen to go after him. So you have to think too that the process involves that as America becomes more and more divided state by state on these big moral issues, that the state actually becomes an aggressor. And we've talked about that in terms of the life issue, where in Massachusetts going after pregnancy resource centers, in Colorado going after somebody firebombs a pregnancy resource center, and suddenly the investigative process is hampered and sad, and doesn't actually ever get to a resolution. And that's a way that the state is allowing bad things to happen, if you ask me. The other headline of this story, and I think it's even better and it's most important, and you mentioned this in Jack's interview, and I would tell people to go listen to that on The World and Everything in It. Or if you have a chance to, hear Jack speak. Jack is a remarkable individual. He has become a model of what it means to stick to your guns, not live by lies, and still love others with the heart of Christ. I mean, his joy, the fact that when he hears that someone has actually come to follow Christ because of being inspired by his story, he just absolutely lights up. This is what this is all about for him now. It's not about winning for him anymore. It's about how God is using his ordeal to show himself to others. It is incredible. It is an incredible thing to watch. And on the courthouse steps, it was so remarkable. I can't pretend that I'm anywhere near being able to do this. I can't even handle the TSA. But what I saw in those two press conferences was, first of all, Jack talking about, and his posture, his joy, real joy, not the joy that we're hearing about from political campaigns, the real joy that he is showing. And then how much that contrasted with the very next press conference with his accuser, and the narcissism, and the self-pity, the fabricated persecution. It was just, the contrast was so stark. And, when we talk about, which we did in the last segment, about what it means to suffer well, I'm not going to compare Jack's suffering with the suffering of our brothers and sisters in northern Nigeria, for example. Or, it's hard to compare anything with what Johnny Erickson Tada has endured for so long. But how we go through what we go through, what God allows. What does Johnny say? God allows what he hates to accomplish what he loves, or something like that. Mm. And Jack is such an example of that. I told another interview this week. I was on with our friend Chris Brooks on the Moody Network. Like, he's a different person. When Christ promises, you quoted this verse, to use this suffering in order to make us more like him. Like, Jack is more like Jesus now than he was 12 years ago. And I don't want to wish that. I tell him all the time, like, I'd never wish what you have gone through on anybody else. But man, it's remarkable to see how God's using it. And his face lights up because that's what he wants. It's great. To me, it's crazy because I don't understand it. I'm not that guy. And I look at it and go, praise God for fulfilling his promise to Jack this way. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's something that needs to be talked about more. And, you see the Christians just flock to Western North Carolina, organize, deliver, Samaritan's Purse doing its thing like it always does. And you just see Christians being Christians. And of course, that's the theme of our year really here, is what we need now is for the church to be the church. And that means courageous and unwavering like Jack. And that also means, trusting in the Lord through these ordeals like Jack. It's really remarkable. So, I'm grateful for this reprieve from my friend. I hope it's permanent. This isn't it. This isn't settled.